yesterday and looked at yesterday was this writing our base with a rational exponent. Rational meaning fraction. So you can see that down here below 16 1/2, same thing as the square root of 16, and then work that out as 4. Okay, and we went through each of these, so you can look at each one of those if you need some assistance. Remember how to do that. We've done that in the bell work already. So Allie, if you're the one watching this, you're on your own. Sorry.
Hey, Allie.
But you can look at these examples and see what it's like. Okay. Same thing.
Yeah.
Hey. Now we were to here.
Why do you miss her?
Because she hasn't been here for a long time.
And she's been in surgery.
Okay. Let's just read this up here. See what it says. You know that to find the square root of number a, you find the number of the square root of a in the same way you can find the roots of numbers. So if a to the third is equal to b, then a would be the cubed root of b. So if you have a to the nth equals b, then this is the nth root. So a is the nth root of b. Terminology, don't get too caught up in that yet. Okay, let's just look at what they have here. Again, down here with the symbols, they're just putting variables for general statements. You have a base that's a. Some number would be in that spot, but they're using the letter a to represent that. To the nth power, just some value, some number again. If that was equal to b, then you can see that this square root of b, or the nth root of b, the nth root is what that is, would be equal to a. And then they use the actual numbers. Everyone knows that 2 to the 4th is equal to 16 now, because of our bell work question, right? And so if 2 to the 4th is equal to 16, then we know the 4th root of 16 has to equal 2. Okay? It's really makes it sound way more complicated than it actually is. But they're just breaking it down. Kind of. Yes, you've been doing this all along your whole life. When square root of 25, square root of 25 is what? 5. So if we turn that around, that's 5 squared is equal to 25. Well, we just haven't had the index here of 2 to show, but the index, what number squared gives you 25? What number squared gives you 25?
A lot of them that are just one.
Like that? Simple?
Yeah.
The positive roots, let me look at this. The positive roots are called principal roots. The radical symbols indicate principal roots. Probably need to read this. Okay, you've got n squared, 3 squared equals 9. Negative 3 squared is also equal to 9. So both of those are square roots of 9. 2 to the 4th is equal to 16. Negative 2 to the 4th is 16. So both of those are roots of 16. Normally we're just looking at the positive roots, and those are called the principal roots. Okay? So if you're wanting the principal roots, you just want the positive result. Okay? Because technically the square root of the 4th root of 16 is 2 or negative 2. But we're just talking principal roots right now. So, let's put the curtain up. We already should be comfortable with this, right? What would the solution be to this?
3.
3. Because 3 to the 3rd equals 27. Okay? The 5th root of 32 is 2, because 2 to the 5th would equal 32.
So we don't even have to say the 3 to the 3rd will. We just have to say.
No, this is just me showing how that's connected based on what we were talking about on the previous page. Okay, so yeah, you don't need that.
Yes.
Right, well.
Asking questions, dumb questions.
These again, this one for sure, I want you to have memorized. What's the cubed root of 64? 4.
Oh, I
Okay.
guessed it. Let's go.
Quinn, you're not supposed to-
4. Because 4 cubed equals 64.
Four times four is 12 times 64.
Now, powers of 10. Remembering that powers of 10 are these numbers here. We can take the roots of those by counting up how many zeros there are and looking at your index and breaking it down from there. So the fourth root of 1,000. What number would you take times itself 4 times to get 1,000? Well, there are 4 zeros. Divide that by the index of 4. 4 zeros divided by 4 would be 10. 1 0. Okay? If I had the 10th root, sorry, not 10th root. The square root of 10,000, how many zeros do I have?
4.
4 divided by the index would be
2.
2 zeros, which is 100.
That's awesome.
Is it possible for it to work out evenly
No.
in that situation?
No.
No.
No fandom.
Okay.
What do we do? Unless something.
It would give you a decimal value. It just doesn't work out evenly. Uh-huh.
Can you find the square root of a negative number?
No.
Good question.
It gives you an imaginary number.
Can we just stay out of that?
And so if you see this little I symbol, so like the square root of -2, you might see this on that test. But the square root, let's do the square root of 4, because it works out. Square root of -4, in like, I think it's algebra 2 you do get into it. It would be 2i.
Oh, yeah, Strick was telling me about that the other day. Not this.
Right, it's going to give you an error on calculator because it's not, it gives you an imaginary number. That's why in math they call it I. And let Mrs. Jackson deal with that for you.
If we can thunk it, then why don't we use it?
Well,
You do. That's why she teaches it.
Use imaginary numbers.
All right.
yeah.
So I just like make up the
Their number's not
Can
even
I do
there.
my
but hey,
imaginary
you're still
number?
doing math.
4.7 billion
Not yet.
to the 100. Power.
I don't know that this
That's
matters.
my imaginary number. No, 100.
You know my imaginary numbers?
Math.
10.
Good ball, brand. Brand or brand. That's a not human person. Brand or brand.
That's a stubborn big baller, man.
I don't think that's anything extra that we need to work on. Okay. I think I covered a certain amount of the stuff yesterday just when I was talking about stuff.
Yeah.
So the cube, or 125 to the 1/3 power, if we were to simplify that, is going to be 5 because you have 125 to the 3rd power. This one you might need to use your calculator on. Maybe you know it. I don't know.
5?
We're wanting the
I was over your boys about it.
It's gotta be 11. It's not 11.
4th root
It's
of
12.
1296.
No, check
12?
Is that? It's not 12?
I was kidding.
It's 6.
Six.
It's
I was
6.
close. I
It's
guess
6.
I knew it was 6 or 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or 5.
So you're fine using a calculator for that.
That's all that matters.
What matters is shutting up and being quiet, please.
Sorry.
Right now. Again, we know what the cubed root of 27 is. That's 3. So I'm not even going to worry about that one. The 4th root of 256 is
4.
4.
I think it's 4. Yeah, he gave me that answer.
4th root of 256 is 4. 64 times 4 is 256.
That's a lot of numbers.
Okay. All right, moving on. The power of power property. Sweet.
No.
The power of power.
Oh.
There's 2 different ways. I've already kind of explained this part with you too. And I'm going to show it 2 different ways. So we want the 64 to the 2/3 power. one way that you can look at that is taking your 64, squaring that, and then the cubed root of all of that. So you have your calculators. Your calculators, get them open. 64 times 64.
4,096.
Don't delete it.
Oh my, that's a big number.
64.
And then
16.
take the cubed root of that number, then
16.
it'd be 16. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way that the book shows is this. You take the cubed root of 64 first, and then square that whole thing. Which the cubed root of 64 is 4, then square it is 16.
Hey, I got a big number.
The value in this one is you don't get as big of numbers and have to work back from. You're making your number smaller by taking the square root or cube root, whatever root of it, and then
Is
taking
there
it
any
to a power.
calculators on the
I
test?
got like 10.9.
Yeah. On state assessment for this stuff, if you were doing it,
No, I
yes.
mean like,
On your test, and yeah, you can use the calculators. So let's talk about the 36 to the 3/2. That would be 36 square root of that, because that's the bottom number, that's your index, and then to the 3rd power. So,
Like 10.
so the square root of
9.
36 is 6 cubed.
Oh,
36, 196? 216, sorry. Didn't do that one very well, did I? Okay, if you were to want to, you could, this is where doing it this way is better, but doing it like this, you would have taken your 36 to the 3rd first, which would give you some giant number, and then take the square root of that.
Yeah,
Wait,
the
so
giant
you did
number
the
was
other way that you did?
46,656.
I would encourage you probably to do it the way that we did it first. I'm just showing that you can do it either way.
Alright, so you just
The big
take
number was
6.
46,656, and then you take the square root of that, and it's 20, or 216.
So you take the cubed root of, the square root of 36.
Yeah, the bottom number, your denominator, is always the root you're taking. The numerator is the power you're taking. So try that. Got it. Got the first one.
say,
What?
Okay,
We already know what the 3rd root of 27 is because we've answered that 2 or 3 times. in
then
this
it's
lesson.
times 2.
Yeah, but I don't understand.
It's 6, isn't it?
It's 9.
It's
So
9,
when you
but then
times it
there's
by two.
another thing.
Not times it by 2, square it.
Oh, yeah.
okay, do you square it by the first
Yeah, it was
number?
81? I don't know.
So you square it by the 2.
Why?
So you're
How
going
do
to
you
go,
square root of 27?
you don't,
56.
Quinn, it's the cubed root of 27.
Oh.
And then we're squaring that. The bottom number is what your root is of the
So
number.
it's 3 squared.
It's 9.
9. Yep. Is cubed root of 27 is 3, and then 3 squared is 9.
Yep.
So then that one's
4 through to 256, I guess we need to memorize 4 through to 256, don't we?
is it 4?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 through to 256, and then to the 5th power. So that's 4 to the 5th power. Use your calculator, it's 256 times 4.
1024.
Oh, I know how we could get that number. That game, 2048, has the multiples of 2, or the exponential.
That game's impossible.
How did you
My
get the
cousin's
4?
fiance gets it every try, first try.
So it's not impossible.
4?
How did you get
It's
the
impossible for me.
4?
What's 20?
What's the 4th root of
Nothing's impossible.
256? On your calculator.
Actually, it is Grandma.
256?
Can't make no risk.
Then go to your x to the y to e, or that one, yeah. 4 equals.
Actually, you could.
Yes, John.
48.
Game. It's a game
I wanna look it up.
on your
I've
iPad.
never played 2048.
It is you'll see it, look it up sometime.
beaten it before?
Yeah.
What?
It's so hard, dude.
I did it, I think twice. Yeah.
Said math.
It took I
Points
started when we were leaving for a track meet
Oh, that thing, that's scary.
on the bus, and I finished it as we were pulling into the Riverton parking lot, so it took like 40 minutes to do it.
Oh,
Just
you have
straight.
to equal 248.
Huh?
You have to get up to 1, 2.
Man, we still got another section here.
What?
So solving where we have exponential equations. So equations with exponents or variables in the exponent spot.
What?
Pretty simple on this one. If you had 5 to the x power equals 5 to the third, what would x equal? 3. Okay. Same thing on this one. If n was 1/2, then those would be equal. N would have to equal 1/2. Okay. Just basic solving type stuff. Now on this, okay, what 6 to the what power gives you 216? Well, if we look at this, the way we were doing it earlier, we would have some root of 216 would have to equal 6. Is it 3?
Yeah, it's
3. So
Oh, yeah,
x,
that's it.
so the cubed root, so x would equal 3. Okay. Another way to think about it, if you happen to have that memorized, is 6 to the x has to equal 6 to the third if you had it memorized, so x equals 3. Okay. Now, all right.
Is that how you write your answer? Just 6x equals.
No, you'd put x is equal to 3 because it's 1 and 3.
Alright, so x is negative.
I know the
X
answer.
minus 1 equals 5.
I know. I think I figured it out.
What do you think, Gage?
It's 2 because you have to minus the exponents.
If the bases were the same,
Yes.
and they're not quite the same, let's, whatever you need to do. All right. Can we write 25 as a base of 5?
Okay.
5 to the what power equals 25?
6.
5 to the second. So I'm going to rewrite the 25 as 5 squared. So that's in parentheses. And then x minus 1 equals 5 to the first.
X is equal to.
Don't try to solve it yet. Just look at it, see where I came from. 25 is 5 to the second to the x minus 1 power equals 5 to the first. Now this exponent is a quantity. So treat it like it's in parentheses. We would have, how would we apply our product of power theorem when you just multiply those?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe yeah. My answer is true. So you just
Where
take
did you
two
get
and
that?
add.
I just making this problem. I just made this problem up so you can see what do we do with our exponents when you have an exponent to the exponent.
You add them.
Multiply them.
Multiply them.
When the bases are the same and you multiplying bases that are the same, then you add them. But if you have an exponent to an exponent, you multiply them. Here we have an exponent to an exponent. So this I can rewrite.
So what's x? 2x minus 2 plus. That's it.
Okay,
You lost your 2.
that's right.
You don't need it anyway.
Yeah. So this is 2, come on, 2 times x minus 1, isn't it? Isn't that what this, isn't that what we'd have to do with that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And the bases are the same, so this equals, what's the exponent over here?
1.
1.
But that's it?
No, I'm not done. I've got to solve for x. But that's how I get to it, is I have to get the situation where the base is the same, so that I can take the exponents now to be able to solve for my variable. You want to divide by 2 or you want to distribute through first? Distribute, so let's go 2x minus 2 equals 1, add 2, and you have 2x equals 3, so x equals 3 over 2. That's just doing the arithmetic quickly. Okay,
Quick math.
so 3 halves. X would equal 3 halves on that for your exponent. So what did they, oh, they were just checking it. So what they did is they plugged that back in to the original and found that it does work out to give you 5.
I like the A.
Yeah, the easy one.
Yeah.
Everyone likes the easy one.
Except
Okay,
Ooh, I like that.
so how about A on this one?
X equals
3.
X equals 3,
Oh.
because 5 to the x on this one, and the base of 5 with the 3 has the exact same value as 125.
Ooh, I know.
So x is equal to 3 on that one. Right? Over here, what are we going to do with this? Corey?
You take 12 times 12 because you have 12
Okay.
squared.
So we're trying to find a common base.
So it'd be 1, 3, 4.
Yeah.
So 12, now our bases are the same, so I can just ignore the bases and just go 2x plus 3 equals 2, subtract 3, subtract 3. 2x equals negative 1, divide by 2, divide by 2, x would equal
So
negative
it's the
1
same thing,
half.
you just have to write it. Okay. Got it. Wait.
I kinda understand it, but it's still confusing.
So,
Would you have to switch that to make it positive?
No, because when you plug that in, you take 2 times 1/2 would give you, sorry, 2 times negative 1/2 plus 3, better equal 2, hadn't it? What's negative 2 or negative 1/2 times 2? Negative 1 plus 3, doesn't that equal 2? Isn't that what we need it to equal?
that makes sense.
So just because there's a negative in it doesn't mean it's wrong. Again, you're just finding the value of x. You're not finding the entire exponent, are you? I kind of got caught up in there for a second myself. You're just finding the value of x that you plug in. It doesn't mean that that entire exponent is a negative value. And it wasn't.
Oh,
So how come
the neck
the,
is so stiff.
Good.
how come your, when you change it to the same basis, how come your 2 doesn't become a 4, 4x plus 3?
On this one,
Yeah.
because it already has a base of 12. I didn't have to do anything to it. So it just stays as this on this one. On the previous problem, I had to change my 25 to 5 to the second, but this x minus 1 didn't change. And then when I rewrote that, then it shows that multiplication. This doesn't need to do that because you already have the base of 12. And you're putting them both in a base of 12, it's already there, so I don't have to do any changing with it. Corey?
Could you have, instead of taking 144 and simplified it down to 12 squared, could you have taken 12 squared x plus 3 and just taken and made 12 squared 144 to equal 144?
Bro, what?
Maybe.
Eating.
Why don't you try it and see? All right, moving on. Another example, real world link.
Oh, great.
Refer to the beginning of the lesson. Find the SPF that absorbs 100% of UVB rays. All right, so we got to go back here. Where's the beginning? Get there, get there, get there. Okay. So we have percent equals 50F to the 2/10.
So we need point,
We're going to go 100 is our percent, right? Our proof. That's what it's
Equals 50,
equals
F,
50 and then F point
2.
2.
I thought we, thought we had to, for the percents, okay.
It's just the percent. It just,
Yeah, I know.
P is the percent, so you just write it as it is. Divide both sides by 50.
So it's 2 equals F 42.
So 2 equals F to the 2/10. What's the right way to write 2/10 as a fraction?
Or this, oh, wait, no. Yeah, what?
Wait, is that
1/5, isn't it?
Yes.
It's also
So I'm going to change that to 1/5. Okay. Remember our relationship? Oh, come on. All right. Our relationship where, let me use one that doesn't work out nice and neat. So if we have 3 to the 4th is equal to 81, then the 4th root of 81 has to equal 3. Okay. This right now is in this form, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
No, it's in this form.
What? How is it? Okay.
I just wrote this down.
Yeah, but how is it in the second form?
The 4th root of 81.
Yeah, but you said the top.
Okay, this is a different problem. I'm just writing down a different example to show you the relationship. Okay.
I was.
All right, phew. So, what value would we take the 5th root of? Oh, I should have made that an F, shouldn't I? F that equals 2. Give your memorized exponentials. One number. When I take the 5th root of, you give me 2. Or 2 to the 5th power equals what?
32.
Oh, I
32.
wasn't looking at it like that.
32. I feel like I totally. Okay. So I took this and I wrote it like this one. That's what I did here first. And then I changed that into this one. Got a little sloppy there for you, but that's how we did that. It was kind of fun. I think I've always skipped that problem in the past. I'm getting smarter with age, yes?
Check it through and it works for both of them. It just gives you 2 and -2 and then -1/2. It's 2 different answers if you did it differently.
Probably don't do it that way then.
Okay. So how do you know which way to not?
Don't do it your way.
Sad.
To get the base the same is what we were doing on this, Corey. You were making the base the bigger value.
Okay, so just make the base a smaller value.
Yeah. You go
Got it.
drop down to the smaller one. That's what we did here.
Can you go to another one problem?
Okay. The radius R of the nucleus of an atom of mass number A is this. So forget all this stuff for right now. Focus in on this. Okay. We have, if we had finding A, if R is 3.6. So just plug that in. 3.6 equals 1.2 A to the 1/3. To get A by itself, I'm going to need to divide by 1.2. That gives me 3, doesn't it? Okay. So this is what number cubed would give me 3, or the cubed root of that would give me 3. Or if I rewrite that in the other form, 3 cubed equals
27.
A.
27.
So it'd be 27.
Okay, that's not that bad. I find this difficult.
It's not orange.
Well, that one wasn't that hard, but all the other ones were.
Everyone just
That's
take
because all the others have built us up to where we now know what we're doing, so it's easy.
So we wanna go over another one.
Sure.
Okay, math students.
Church night.
Yes, it is. So let's work this together here. Let's play fair.
All even.
Unlike Friday.
No, I'll
What?
talking about?
Yesterday in church.
Psychology, what's it called? Reverse psychology.
I think I-
All even. That's not reverse
Reverse
psychology.
psychology.
You might forget. You might forget.
There's a lot of very good problems.
Mr. Clevenger just said he's gonna do what
I don't know if you're good as my good.
When his good and your good are the exact
You
opposite.
should do an IA.
and
Yeah,
that's
because
true.
Yeah, my good is
Why?
not.
Just do it. Your good is all odds.
Hey, that's pretty good. 158.
Oh.
Whoa.
It's gonna be a fun church night.
Yeah, really.
Visible
Do.
Friday.
Friday.
Friday. Here's what I'll.
Next Monday.
This is what I'll
Oh,
do.
no, no.
Listen.
Friday's a bad day. Hey,
Listen.
I need to brace off tomorrow.
You're not listening, so we can make it do tomorrow instead. Okay, this is good. I will make it due Friday. As long as, and this is a big if, okay? If you work quietly
Okay, well, it's Thursday, guys.
tomorrow.
Oh, I just sharpened my pencil with a ribbon.
Alright, I'll just make sure to say.
If it's not quiet, this is a whole lot of points. How many points is this? 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 44, 45, 40, 46 points. That's not that many, really. But if you can't be quiet, I'm grading this sucker when I'm tired of listening. Understand the deal?
Yeah.
If you can't work on this, because I give you time to work on it, and you're messing and being loud, do I mind you chatting quietly with someone when you're working? No, I just don't like the loudness. Okay? So I'm giving you a chance to do this on your own during class tomorrow, basically. But as a group, do you trust your counterparts?
No.
You might want to be
I
sort
don't
of
trust
I don't trust myself.
Hey, I'm gonna finish it by.
You can always set somewhere else if you need to.
I'm finishing
Someone
it
bring
tonight,
Gorilla
and
Tape.
then,
Super glue, Gage.
Everyone.
Super glue.
You can get Gorilla Tape off.
But you can't get
But it
super
hurts
glue
more.
off, so that's good.
It hurts. Who's got
Yeah, but if
braces
we're ripping
on?
gorilla glue, we'll be laughing, we'll be screaming. But if we super glue, you're just like,
I say we all just finish it.
Alright, I am hoping to get, Parker still has the test to take.
I'm doing one right now.
You can test. it.
Actually, you missed a lot, but you didn't miss a lot. You missed a lot of days, but you didn't miss a lot of stuff.
Because like we spent 2 days on
it's like we're really tough to get.
Wait, what time did we leave this last one? 15?
15.
When do you want my makeup?
I'm gonna screenshot this bad boy.
I thought you were like, we're gonna screenshot you.
You get me the shoe.
When do you want all this?
Go through all the way through. Right, you can press the right through.
There's quite a bit of work on the Parker, but it's not
Okay, I'm
hard.
just gonna get that done
It's
tonight.
not hard, it's just tedious.
I'm gonna get 17 through 24 done tonight, or I'm gonna get done seminar and so rest tomorrow in class.
I'm gonna do all
You
day
have
on
to
this.
do it tomorrow.
No, that's what I want to do. I normally put it off so I can do stuff, and then I do
Oh
ATS
my
at
gosh! What have you done? Merry Chrysler.
Have a good day.
Parker gets a present.
Oh crap, I do!
Parker, were you screaming at your sister for half the time you're gone?
You ran a paper and then my sister's a key and shut off.
Your sister walks you. My turn to play.
I logged out,
Oh,
so she'll explain.
No, it's not.
So you're right about unicorns. You hurry up. I'm being nice and waiting for you.
Ariana! Ariana!
Yeah. I got all y'all for my corny jokes. Tucker, you want to hear a pizza joke? Never mind, it's too cheesy. That's y'all. That's Jimmy.
Try some. You want to hear my peanut butter, Gerdo? My peanut butter joke?
Oh, whoa, that's too crunchy.
No, because it had to be no peanut butter. Or no peanuts. Just no.
Oh yeah, for Tucker. It's too cheesy for mommy. Oh, what? Aiden, you want to hear a pizza joke? That mine's too cheesy. Yeah. That's Drake. See how Taylor knows what he's doing.
Look at the bicep.
Take off.
That's a good.
That's funny.
No, that's the real.
Wow, Haley.
That's crazy. That was a good one.
I like your romantic joke. That sounds awesome. That doesn't sound like.
What is it?
Somehow I apparently like your romantic.
What? Aiden just made that one.
Which one? Oh, thanks.
Don't no reason.
Thanks, you did.
That's a good joke.
Don't ask what that's like. Hey, Jared,
Yo.
I want to see that.
At my house playing sick day.
Oh, you were fake. You guys all have to trash. Do I have to?
That's the normal one. I just created our new one.
Same. I haven't done no trash then.
I don't know.
Why does the A never show up? Rude.
No, it's just a funny joke.
No, it's not.
Yeah. It's not funny. It's just. Aiden, I made it up. It's just. It's just a fun. It's just a.
I have a niece that's fixed.
So do I.
Then why are you making?
It's not funny. It's just a little joke. It's just a joke.
See?
What was that? That was the weakest hit ever.
Yo. Yeah. It's not really a joke. Whatever. How bad is it? Fly, Eagles, fly. You're gonna get striked for that. Kidding, I don't know you might have. No, you're
Don't talk to me. No, you won't. Yeah.
Aiden, you forgot to pick Ray.
That's the guy. Is he really going to do
He might have. Tom Brady retirement. Mine won't work. I've been doing this, and I respect it.
Hi. What happened to this?
I don't know what it is.
You'll catch up with us today. We're basically reviewing what we did yesterday. Before we go to Bellwork,
What is that?
this is something for tomorrow.
Yeah, I thought it was
Before we go over to Bellwork, I want to discuss what took place this morning. What took place this morning, whenever I woke up and I went to look and see what the temperature for the day was going to be, I saw then on the Weather Channel was talking the lunar eclipse. I didn't realize last night that there was going to be a lunar eclipse. Now, lunar eclipses are much more common than solar eclipses. But what was unique about this situation is it was a lunar eclipse on a blue moon in a supermoon situation. So this made it a super blue bloody moon event. Okay?
Wow.
Now, we have supermoons periodically. That's where the moon gets closest. It's on its orbit that makes it closest to the Earth that it can be, basically. It's not the closest, but it's still close, closer than usual. That makes it unique. That's what makes it a supermoon. A blue moon, and I didn't know this until a couple weeks ago probably, or no, it was at the beginning of January I heard it, that a blue moon is when you have the second full moon in a calendar month. Okay, normally don't we basically gauge months by the moon? Isn't that how it was developed and created? Yes. Well, in January, at the start of January, there was a full moon, and then there was a full moon last night and tonight. So this is the second full moon of the month. That makes it a blue moon. And then the bloody moon had to do with the eclipse. During the eclipse, the Earth blocks the sun rays to the moon. Everybody understands that. It's like the solar eclipse. But what happens are the red light rays, and I don't get the science behind it, but the red light rays actually start curving around the Earth and reflect and then point to the moon. Okay? It's kind of a weird little deal. And that's what gives it that red look. Now, what I want to show you, and I didn't even show the other classes, so you get a lucky look at this, is that with this blood moon is the opportunity to see some things that you don't normally see. Oh. One of those things being, I don't remember what they called it, but there's a belly button looking thing. That makes it interesting, doesn't it? Let me see if this other picture's better. Ooh. It's, when I screenshot it, it doesn't want to, oh, I don't even forget. So I need to go in and edit this, don't I? And when I edit it, I want to rotate it. Which way? Oh, not that way. Okay. You can kind of see it. This is actually on the bottom right of the moon. If I could get it rotated a little farther, which it's just not going to do for me, is it? Anyway, see this little spot here? That's where a crater hit at one time, or crater. That is a crater caused by something hitting the moon. And what you can't see during a regular moon, a regular lit moon night, are these little rays that fly out from it. You see those? I mean, it's probably hard where you're at to see them. But if you get a picture and zoom in on it a little bit, you can see that there's some little white rays coming off of there a little bit. Well, with the regularly lit moon, you can't see those. And so those are only visible when you have the bloody moon. But those were created by the impact and it blowing volcanic stuff in rays like that, I believe is what they said. Now, moving to another topic. It's the same topic, different idea. Is the last time that this happened? Any ideas? Did anybody hear?
27.
27?
1923.
1923?
Oh, wow.
15?
42. 35. 47. 26.
27 years.
50,000. 26.
You're all wrong.
15.38.
You're still wrong.
Years.
28 years ago.
1999.
All right. Oops, didn't like that, did it? 5690.
That's how many years ago it was.
No,
I agree. Dang it.
1866. It's such a unique event that it hasn't, that these, yeah, they did. Some did. That's why they know it happened in 1866. But it's so unique of a situation to have all three of those things happening at the same time. The supermoon, the blood moon, and the eclipse. It's a full lunar eclipse. It wasn't just a partial. So the last time that the full lunar eclipse happened during a blue moon, why isn't this working? Was in 1866. Now, if you, sorry to bother you there, Michael, but we probably don't need to be doing that. To kind of put that in perspective, 1866, when I first hear it, just off the top, I was like, wow, that's a long time ago. Okay? It's a long time enough that it's almost, just almost back to the Civil War. Okay? And still, even if you just say the Civil War, in my mind, I go, okay, 1860s, all right, whatever. But what helps me to put it in perspective, if I can get this to work, I will show you. There we go. Is to look at this in terms of generation. Okay? So, my grandpa, Ernie, he's still alive, he's 94 years old. He was born in 1925. Okay? His dad was born in 1893. And then his dad was born in 1858. So we're talking about my grandpa, who's 94 years old. His grandpa was 8 years old the last time that happened. So even going back one more generation, I would have to go to Joseph Clevenger, who was born in 1833, to be somebody that actually remembered it, saw it, knew what was going on. Likely that they actually knew it was going on, but they probably saw it if it was a clear night and would have recognized that it had happened. Now, still looking at on this may not do much for you, but to put it in perspective, that's my 94-year-old grandpa's great-grandpa. Okay? Or my third great-grandpa. My third great-grandpa. So for your generation, that'd be like your fourth or fifth grandpa.
There's a Switzerland in Indiana.
Switzerland, Indiana. Switzerland County, Indiana. Yeah. I've talked about the Markland dams, Markland locks. Have I done that? Mentioned that? Okay, that's around the Ohio, it's on the Ohio River, between right where Ohio and Indiana meet. There's a town named Markland, real tiny, that was, his wife was a Markland, and the Marklands had a lock that they built, or that's named after them in that area, on the river. Anyway, Switzerland, Indiana. Drake saw it this morning and said, India?
That's why you
I went,
should
Switzerland, India! Isn't that amazing? Okay. Sorry, it wasn't, this is an interesting couple of pieces. I'm sorry, it was his son married a Markland. My bad. But this Nancy Fulton, I haven't been able to connect it to prove it, but it's been a handed down thing over the years. I can remember as a kid being told that we were related to Robert Fulton, who invented the steam engine, the steamboat. Okay, that's the steamboat. He's the one that was able to get that going, that helped move along things. But I've been told that she was somehow related to him. I haven't been able to figure out how, so it's not confirmed. Actually,
look in the family tree.
well, I haven't found anything that connects it. I found her father and this Gillian. She was from Georgia, but I haven't found anything that shows that Joseph would be connected to Robert Fulton. So.
It looks like the
What's cool about the Clevenger line, I can't help myself, I just gotta tell you this, is if I go back a couple more generations, we get back to Samuel Clevenger, that's born in 1710.
His wife doesn't have a last name.
They didn't know it anyway. His dad was born in 1678.
Oh my goodness.
His dad was born in 1654. This Clevenger was only 30 years old when I think he drowned in an accident, yeah. But he married Sarah Haddon. Now what's cool about the Haddon family, John Haddon owned a bunch of land that is New York City now. Fordham, you know where Taylor Batson went to college? Fordham University? Isn't it Fordham? Taylor Batson, yes, Taylor. Where Taylor went to college, this guy, John Haddon, owned the land right there. And a bunch of it.
And he sold it to the.
I don't know what he did. I don't remember what he did. There's documentation of him and George and the Clevenger working together on deeding some land over to build a bridge landing on or something.
Maybe that's how he got his wife.
But anyway, moving back, here's what's cool about the Clevengers. You get to John Clevenger.
Is that the first one?
John Clevenger came from England. He was born in 1633. You can see he died at the age of what?
I can't read.
Okay, 1654. 21. 21 years old. Before he was 21,
Had a kid and got
he
married.
had 2 kids, fortunately.
Got married.
One of those died, maybe that's where one of them died from a drowning accident. And then George lived and had 2 children, died at the age of 30. And then this is one of the kids. And then from this one Clevenger, any Clevenger you meet, no matter how it's spelled, it might be spelled with a Cliven. Every Clevenger is related. Every Clevenger can trace back to this one Clevenger. And the story is, I read it once, can't prove it, but I read that the Clevengers got in trouble in England. The word Clevenger means key keeper, and so the thought is that the Clevengers were in a fairly important position, and something went bad, and the monarch tried removing the Clevengers from existence. He escapes, gets to the United States, and that's the only Clevenger that got out, and that's all Clevengers that exist now are related. And everybody can trace, I mean, that's not a folklore. Every Clevenger can trace back to him that's has any lineage at all.
I have a big family.
I know, and it died early as he died. I might not be your math teacher. You'd be fortunate. Yes?
I saw Clevenger on Jeopardy the other day. So
Oh, yeah?
related to, like, a super genius.
I would be related. Yeah. I don't know how, but I'm related. I had none of you would know them, but the Stricklands used to live in town here and were a minister at one of the churches. And huh?
Mr. Strickland using Back to the Future.
That's awesome movie. But we have been friends for quite some time
Wow, that's a big tree.
when he goes, hey, my mom was a Clevenger. And I said, well, then we're related. And so I went through and put in his information and connected, and it turns out he and I were 6 cousins once removed.
What's that? What is once removed?
Yeah, we're good.
Now, okay,
It's real.
I love this stuff, so that's how it goes. All right,
Wait, what is
I don't know your
Like
family.
a second cousin.
I know my family. Okay, so, and you know some of my family. Okay, I am a first cousin with Mrs. Tucker.
You are?
Okay, yes.
I'm not.
So our dads are brothers, all right, and so we are cousins. You with me? So we're first cousins. The next generation down is Eli and Brett, and they are second cousins. Now, speak of the devil.
Oh, great.
Just in time.
Oh, wow.
That one.
Just talking about you.
Yeah.
All good things.
All good things, all good things.
All good things.
It's you and Eli I'm talking about.
Okay.
What do you got? Need a little secret message.
Secrets don't make friends.
Quiet.
Get back over there. So we're at me and Mrs. Tucker, first cousins. Brett and Eli are second cousins because they're on the same generation, right? We're lined up. Now, Eli and I. Eli is off of a generation. He's my cousin's first cousin, one generation removed. So Eli is my first cousin once removed. So Eli's kid, if he were to have a child, scary,
Seven generation removed.
would be still be a first cousin because it's through my first cousin that we're connected. First cousin twice removed. It'd be two generations down. That's just the term they use for being two generations down. I don't know.
It's dumb.
It
It sounds like someone's getting married
So,
and remarried a lot.
Eli and I's title, sounds very complicated in terms of first cousin once removed, whereas Brett and him are just second cousins because they're lined up generationally. And then Eli's kid and Brett would be first cousins once removed because it's Brett's first cousin one generation down.
So is second cousins or first cousins once removed like more distant? Yeah, which one?
Yeah, first cousin,
First cousins are still pretty close.
once removed.
Right.
Is that
So
more?
Once removed, you still wouldn't want to marry that person.
I know, but like
They only Arkansas use that.
But which one? I think Riley and Brett. Kinley and Brett.
Okay, Eli would be closer to me than Eli and Brett.
So Eli's closer to
So
me.
first cousin, now if I go first cousin 4 times removed and compare that to
Is
my
that like
second
the fourth
cousin,
kid?
it'd be my second cousin then. Right, it'd be the fourth, well, that'd be the kid of the kid of the kid. type
Oh,
thing.
So
And,
the guy that's the sixth cousin,
yes,
he's like
Gray Strickland. Uh-huh.
6 people.
Sixth cousin, like sixth cousin twice removed or 7 times removed or whatever. No, twice
And
removed.
I are seven.
Yeah. You want to see him? I don't know how to connect him. I'll have to look and see. Yes?
How far away is the first guy from you?
What app did you use?
Oh, what is he, my grandpa wise?
How do you make it? How do you
It's 4.
Yeah, like how did you
How
find that
do you
out?
know all these people?
It's 10th grade grandma. Is what he is.
Wait, how did you figure all this out?
I figured all this stuff out.
Well, because the Clevengers are all traceable through one, a lot of it's already done.
How?
Okay? People have done it over years. Ancestry.com has a lot of it online.
Because it costs.
Family? Can you look up my family? What's this?
No, I will not look up your family. However, I have to show you this because somebody mentioned Arkansas. All right, let's see.
Is this a different family tree?
Okay, this is my mom. All right, so I'm right over here.
Oh, that's cool.
This is my mom. This is my grandma who I dearly loved. She has a unique situation.
Wait, why is
She is
that?
not, that's the one it's on.
Oh.
That's the one I've got showing. So, my grandma was not from Arkansas. However, she was from Brumley, Missouri, around Lake of the Ozarks. And Lake of the Ozarks was basically Arkansas. Okay? They're a lot like that, hillbilly type thing. And you can see that we're talking about her great-grandparents. Look at her great-grandparents. 1 Robinette, 2 Robinette, 3 Robinette. There were, she was, in short, well, that's because it's a son or a daughter of this one. Okay? But, what it boils down to is this. Yes. What it boils down to is this. You should not be more than 1/8 of any of your great-grandparents, right? She's 3/8. These were cousins, and this was like the daughter of him or something. And so then they're all in this one area, My great grandparents, who I actually knew, were first. They were first cousins.
I know my great grandparents.
So, if you wonder why I am like I am, there you go.
They probably like had it.
That's why you can't hear it. So, okay, so my
They like have met in the family.
my great grandmother.
I'm scared.
Have you ever met them?
Do you have any twins in your family?
Oh yeah, do you have twins
No.
in your family, like that run in your family?
Oh, that's weird.
I would.
You're like, I have a question.
Did John
Have
have
any
any?
of your
I didn't
family
know
become
that.
famous?
Yes, I told you about a couple of them. The what?
Did John have a brother?
Yeah, I think he, but he's the one that passed away.
He died.
Wait, the first one that came across?
The very first.
No. If he did, it's not documented because he was either
He's dead.
dead or they were killed, whatever. If that story is true, which makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Caroline, one more thing. What you got?
Alright, so how did you, like, were you the first one in your family to start figuring this stuff out? Or,
No,
like,
there was a my grandpa's first cousin. So my 94-year-old grandpa, his first cousin back in the 70s did a bunch of research to find, and I found mistakes that he had made. So that was where I got a lot of information. Now, when you get into Ancestry.com, you know those leaves that are up there? Those leaves are hints and they will connect you to other people's trees that have those same people, so you can really start dropping a lot of stuff in real fast. Popular people, John Sevier. I told you about John Sevier in Tennessee, the state of Franklin.
again?
blah,
Because
blah,
I don't
blah.
remember.
No. And then I've been looking to try to figure out if I could prove it, but the King of England in the early 1000s I'm connected to. The King Ethelred, the Unready King of England.
That's 19,000 years ago.
Which means I'm a cousin. I'm a cousin with Queen Elizabeth.
Wait, what time?
So you're like related to the
So like if you were in England, you
You are
were
royalty.
If I can prove it. I
Okay,
can't.
so
There's a
I
gap
know
in
the
the number.
culture.
Who's
No,
the?
you're supposed to
Okay, so
worship one
you're
god.
the guy's first cousin. Who's that to you?
Who's guy's first cousin?
Wait, the guy, the 94-year-old guy.
Oh, what is that for me?
Yeah.
That would be
Okay.
my first cousin. 2 times removed. Because I'm 2 generations down.
Because, like, if the first one.
I'm so confused.
What, Josh?
My mom's cousin said that I'm related, or that we're related to someone who came on the Mayflower.
No, that's pretty cool. Probably.
Everybody is.
Okay, so
We got to. Josh.
John,
Almost everyone.
So my grandpa's
No.
a twin, right?
That's not
That's
I'm
what
not
I'm
like-
on my pride.
Can't forget about the Canadians.
Alright. What is a rotation?
It's where you were.
A rotation is a turn.
Oh.
Okay?
Oh yeah.
Go to the ancestry.
Guys. I just put.
Wait. We'll get to you. Don't forget it.
No, it's really good.
What is a reflection notation?
I don't know. What?
Oh, I
That's the
didn't.
one I didn't answer.
Over
I
the
thought
X.
it said rotation. It says rough.
Miss D, never again. So which one do we change? If it's an X rotation or an X reflection, we change the Y. Today in our rotation notations that we're going to be looking at, we're going to be changing the sign of some of our X's and some of our Y's. This negative, just like this, just means we're changing the sign of it. So if it's 2, if our original Y was 2, it became negative 2. If this was negative 3, it became positive 3. We're going to use that same idea. Then the next one, what kind of transformation is this? It's a reflection over the y-axis.
Do you have this thing over a Y?
No.
Okay.
But, for Miss Carolyn, could this have been a rotation?
Very possibly,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Most definitely not.
If you take,
Yes, it could.
Can you explain it?
if I took a spinner,
Quiet.
if I took the spinner in and connected this to the star,
Which one's the
and then rotated it so that it's pointing here, this would indeed end up there, this would end up there, that one up there, that one up there.
They're cousins.
Yes, Caroline?
Okay, that picture of the stars, it looks like the x-axis, it looks like a dirt, like if the x-axis was a mouth and the stars are the eyes, it looks like a dirt face of stars.
It looks like a what?
A dirt face.
The dirt. Here, I'll show you.
A dirt face?
Stars are dirt.
Oh.
Looks like a baseball field. Two stories.
I love Mr. Glover, did I ever go the dirt face?
No.
It's right here.
Honestly,
You just show me.
This is the dirt face. No, not that one. The one that's just like the
Dirt face with
Wait,
like
what is
tongue.
which one?
No, not that one. The one
Real
that
dirt
looks like
face.
No, it's there's a Hey, let me ask you a question about math.
Okay, so in this one, two people are married and then they get a divorce.
Yo!
How does that work? Like, how did you do that with
It's like that one. Oh, I gotta
Basically, what it does is it shows your direct lineage. So like, so say, how do I want to do this? My mom and dad were married and had me. So that line from them comes down to me. They did get divorced later in adult life. And so my dad ended up getting remarried. So what would happen is there'd be a second line off of him to her to show that connection.
So this you just keep.
Okay?
Well, like,
But I haven't done that yet because I want to act like it hasn't happened.
Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
So what is, alright, no, what if your great granddad was married to someone else's great grandma and one of them died with it, would you still be related to them?
Okay, so
If you
If they had
both
kids,
came from them, yes.
your mother doesn't change.
I have a question.
Me and Nicole are
Something
like-
that's bothering me.
Okay, so after they get divorced and it makes a new family tree, does it just continue and then it would be in your history or would it be in someone else's family history?
Well, both lines would have a tree. Okay, so your mom and your dad have you. Boom, go off right. Your mom gets married to somebody else, has another child. Then that would start a separate line. But you still have your line that you would have legacy to. It doesn't just end.
The divorcees are like birds.
Okay. So there would just be two lines off of your mom showing your mom to your dad, your mom to your sibling's dad.
So in the future, that
And-
would just add on to yours.
Yeah. They
So
can
like
take
once
and
you
copy it over.
die, they can just add on to you.
Mm,
I agree.
So if my kid got, if I ever have kids, got married but didn't have any kids with the it and got divorced and then like remarried but had kids with that one, would the first
Yeah, that first one would
spouse
be,
still be in the family?
right, because they were still married to that
But-
person. But it would just be for, you would just be showing it because
What
it
if
happened.
that
It wouldn't be
guy
for
had
kid
that?
purposes.
What if that guy had kids with a different person that wasn't in the
Your
family?
kids never.
Then I
What
probably
if they
wouldn't,
never got married?
I wouldn't put it in.
Yeah, what if your kids
I'm
never
so
got
off
married?
track.
Yeah.
Everybody dies. It would end.
Yeah.
And your family tree's over.
Wow.
What if you adopted
Well,
it?
Yeah, what if you
Yeah,
adopt
what if you
another
adopt
family?
this one as a family? It would still be your kid, just not with your
What if you're
there would be a note that it was an adoption, but they would still be in your tree.
There would be like a side tree. If my great grandma she started a side tree.
You can turn your own.
Wait, can you just start writing like if I started a Savannah
I
tree
started,
at-
yeah, and then you just start finding out.
How much does Ancestry cost?
Is it a
It's free. The app is free, but you have to
It's
pay a trial
It's,
to.
it's
find
free
out
for
if
14 days, but then it's, I want to say $99 for 6 months.
What?
Yeah, thank you. And you paid that too?
No, I didn't,
Oh.
because I purchased the
It'd be
The-
$200 for 12 months.
stuff, I paid for Ancestry and got 6 months free.
What?
And so then I got to do that.
So you better do
So
yourself
you
in
use
6 months.
And then there's the whole topic of something else. Briar, you've been very patient. Go ahead.
Okay. So, my grandpa is a twin, right?
Okay.
And then he married another twin. And then his twin married the person that he married.
Is that incest?
Wait, what?
No, that wouldn't be incest because she already be divorced from him.
So they just married twin siblings.
Right.
Uh-huh. That's cool.
That's
That makes you a double cousin.
That is missing.
But
Or your okay. Your mom and dad, or your mom, whoever.
Why are you saying that's messed up?
It's not even-
Yeah, it's not messed up at
Oh,
all.
It's Bible.
This is incest.
Oh my god.
That is my cousin.
Is what that's called.
No,
They would have very
Like with the heads.
Never taken anywhere.
Wait, I
Casey,
have one
never
last
taken
question.
anywhere.
Okay.
How do royal families work?
I don't have any idea.
I know.
They're dysfunctional, is what I think probably.
Like the Cordos. It's like
four of the same person.
Is it arranged marriage? Wait, Tommy's uncle was alive.
Guys!
I can start giving strikes. I don't want to because that's not how. But I do want to get moving on this. Okay. If we are going to, we talked
Teachers,
yesterday.
At this time, any students who are dressed up in the 70s style, please send them to the dressed in the 70s.
You're dismissed.
Thank you.
Right when you're about to start the lesson.
If we want to rotate this point 270 degrees counterclockwise, we talked about clockwise and counterclockwise yesterday. Counterclockwise 270 degrees would be this way. This would be how far? How many degrees to there? 90 to there.
180.
180,
180 plus 90.
which would be 270, right?
And then 46.
So this is a 270 degrees counterclockwise rotation. We can also get from here to here by using a clockwise rotation. Agreed? A 90-degree clockwise rotation gets you to the same location as a 270-degree counterclockwise. So 270 counterclockwise is the same as 90-degree clockwise.
Is this going to the same place?
It's going to the same location. One just goes one way, the other goes the other. Okay?
Is tie-dye 80s?
I don't have a clue. So we're now.
Weren't you alive then?
Yep. I don't care right now. All right, so we have this one that I want to rotate 270 degrees clockwise. So this point I'm going to rotate 270 degrees clockwise. Whoops, went too far there, didn't I? Takes me to there. So a 270 degree clockwise rotation would be the same thing as a 90 degree counterclockwise rotation. The reason we're doing this is it's much like the Pythagorean theorem where I said that when you find A or B, you can use either one. Well, if we learn this relationship that the counterclockwise 270 is the same as clockwise 90 and vice versa, we don't have to learn as many translation or rotation notations. Okay? One more. If I rotate this point 180 degrees counterclockwise, what's that the same as? 180 clockwise. A 180 degree rotation, it's basically irrelevant which way you're rotating it because it gets you to the same spot either way. But it is important to know that a 270 degree clockwise, counterclockwise is the same as 90 degrees clockwise, or that a 270 clockwise is same as a 90 counter clockwise. Okay. All right. We did this yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, we did.
we did. So here's where we're at. And for purposes of simplifying this, I have this. I need you to copy this down in the back of your book. This is our rotation notation. These notations each represent some clockwise rotation. That's why I have clockwise up
Can
there.
we put the X and Y on it?
Yes, that's what you need, is the symbol notation to know that this notation is a 90-degree clockwise notation. The middle one is your 180-degree clockwise notation. This far right one is a 270-degree clockwise rotation. We want to write these down because it's going to make what we did on these problems, this one here in particular, super easy. Now, one other thing is that this is a clockwise rotation around or about around the origin. Okay, so it's going to be this. I'll go back. It's this situation where this was rotated about the origin. Remember, I had to draw straight lines and count up how far to move stuff and all that kind of stuff. Well, this is going to make that process much simpler.
We put the same as.
Yeah, okay. So then, we just got done talking. Clockwise 90 degrees is the same as a counterclockwise 270. So rather than having to learn 4 different formulas, the counterclockwise 270 is the same as 90 clockwise, and vice versa over here. So write all that down. Those of you coming in, you have 2 minutes now to get this written down. And your notes.
How rude.
Wrong day, that was yesterday. Wednesday was hard. And also, it's like like on coffee.
Write those down in the back of your book with your rotations. These are rotation notations about the origin.
Yeah, this was the best math class I've ever had.
We should do this every single day.
Okay. Well, tomorrow, you're going to end up with more homework than the other classes. Actually, you're not going to end up with more homework. You're going to end up with less time to do homework in class than the other class.
That's fine. That's fine.
We actually have seminars. Hey, you have to be 6 minutes.
Wait,
Hey,
when did Scooby-Doo come out? Did it come out like late 60s, 69?
But it did come out.
But it's based on the 60s.
Yeah.
So you're just like Shaggy Riders.
There's a lot of connotations that are meant by stuff.
Scooby and Shaggy eat a lot.
Exactly. If you've watched the 70s show, you know why.
Yeah. Those are my 2 favorite shows of all time.
You got here quick. Huh? I was explaining how first cousin and second cousin, like Mrs. Tucker and I are first cousins. You and Eli are second cousins, but Eli is my first cousin once removed. You're Mrs. Tucker's first cousin once removed. They're down a generation. Related to her first cousin, but sit down generation. That's up to you. Yeah, if you want to back, you can leave it back.
James is Clevenger, right? That's 17, right? 60 is speaking, right?
Yeah.
The seventh graders are all like, no, 70s is hippie. No, they even said it on
They
here.
just don't get it. She's got the bell bottoms on. You should have wore some of those tight jumpsuits.
I got so confused. I thought today was 60. Our such week 60 is being on I just have to wash these.
Larry, I got a hole for you, dude. You go out behind my house one day. You got the biggest hole you ever seen for no reason. You need to go dig a volleyball holes out of a lady's yard to sell their volleyball.
Oh, yeah.
But you got the kids for that job.
Brett has done that numerous times, but I make him do it in the chicken pen. So it doesn't affect my mowing. Yeah, they just.
Well, I've got this tree that broke off at about 7 feet, and it's all it is a log. I think that it's dead here, and I kept the top of it off. I'm always gonna do something every day sitting around. And one day I slammed into it, and I thought, good run, I'm not gonna take this down. I never tried that. Well, Quinn and Nate were like, we can take it down. Okay. I went, well, what I didn't realize, so they go and they hook Quinn's winch up to the tree and just yank it right out. Then they go to all my stumps and take out all my stumps with the winch, which I appreciated. Of course, it pulled
all of them out.
It did. I think they were dead.
Right, but still, that's cool.
Mace, I need you, man.
Look at that haircut.
Listen.
Mace.
Okay, so Mace, it looks fair. Look, within the last few days, it went over here. Okay, it was just stopped.
Kelly,
But
that's
it's
nice.
dead. It's finished.
Sorry, Carrie, that's nice. Carrie,
So,
Carrie,
like,
she's
it came
ignoring
over
Carrie.
here, and it comes over here. Now, I know
Kelly
it's
said
wrong,
thank you when I said
but
I like
feel
her.
like it might be starting to touch season. Okay? So, I need a reevaluation from you. Okay?
Take some pictures, maybe.
So, you see that? Alright. Talk to your
That was
confidant
quick.
and find out what she thinks.
She might say you didn't come in. Will she ever say that?
She knows I'm not paying $30.
Maybe she's got letters.
So, oh, come here. I want to show you what I've been putting on. I gave up on the hand thing.
So when his hand falls off, then he's gonna.
Then we'll worry about it. So I missed you yesterday.
Yeah.
I had a headache, so I was out of here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oi.
What's happening?
Huh?
What's happening? Southern haircuts for everyone.
Not me.
It looks good. Carrie's is starting to get longer. Kelly's like,
Yeah. Yeah,
it does.
look at the back.
Looks like a boy now. They're gonna grow out a mullet.
Everybody else is.
Well, I do.
Are we all meeting up here?
From on down.
First,
Nate's room has somehow become the, yeah. That was while I was winning.
It's just like right here.
Open up the wall.
I like that though. She wouldn't even look at me.
That's Dr. Hoover. He's the best around. And the cheapest.
Hi. So you rolling?
Yeah.
All right.
I like the 3 levels of hair you guys now have.
That is
I like
good.
that.
Stair step.
I'm into the beginning stage. Super pretty at all levels.
wide open. Well, you know, if he needs to beat somebody up, he's pretty good. He was not a kid.
One thing he talked about is that drinking too really fast at night. I was like, you need to do that by, well, maybe that once.
Dr.
Dubbed
Miller.
it up. That's what's down here.
So I think that.
This is something wrong.
I said, I'm not doing it. It's your guys' call. You never said that.
I was hoping Sunday's not look as good as I hoped.
I know, I keep looking at perception showing up.
Why are you guys still here?
I couldn't tell.
But you should be, whatever he wants me to do.
I know, that's exactly what I told him, Brad. I said, you want us to get a vote from everyone? And he's like, no, we're just waiting for you guys to make that.
So I need to know. Backwards.
If it's not, that's good.
Oh. I probably didn't either, but I don't know.
What's up, T-Day? But I was thinking he might have issues around. Because everybody else is.
I actually forgot to send him anything.
You know.
Do that.
Yeah.
Literally, I was going over an English test, and the wording of the sentence says, in a complete sentence, do this. Arguing with me of why I took points off because he did not capitalize I at the beginning of the sentence. Well, I wrote a sentence, no, you didn't. I know they teach you beginning capitalization because my son's in kindergarten and he already knows that. Like, literally arguing.
You know what's really funny? He says to me at the beginning of class, has his hand up like he does. I say, Matthew, do you have a question to start off our class? I say that every day. Matthew, a question? And he said, can I sit up there? I said, no. But I need to charge my iPad. I was like, why did you just ask to charge your iPad first? And then I went off on him for like 5 minutes. Because he wants to argue all the time. I was like, you worded that just so you can argue with me.
Or he does that.
All you had to say was, first off, was, can I charge my iPad? Sure, go ahead. Which you didn't say.
Yep.
But
I banned him from asking questions. Like, as I'm doing, he's sitting there with his hand like this. No kidding, for at least 2 minutes. Matthew, do you have a question? No, I'm just stretching. Put your hand down. I'm pretty sure I did all like saw steam coming out of my ears.
Oh, it's so bad. It wasn't even bad what he said. It was just.
The fact of the matter, yeah. I
But
agree
I
with
need
you.
to charge.
I know.
It's too much. That's so funny though. She was making me sick to my stomach watching the circles go round and round and round. And her arms gotta be that long. And I was like, oh my God. I feel like Kate even figured it out. I'm sure. He did. Yeah.
Or like she was in any way, like 30 seconds.
She did it.
What do you need?
I'm surprised she didn't.
What do you need?
She's okay. Good job.
I told him, oh, I think you can go down the office. Yeah.
Sit outside.
I don't know if there's any complaints about the way.
Wait, Kim.
No, I think I'm gonna. There's always in this year.
I don't know if they.
What? I said I think I'm leaving after this year. Stay at home, draw some benefits. Seems to work for the majority of people.
Did Wendy leave early?
Yes.
For.
That long.
Today was his last day.
It was his last day. Because
TA was disappointed we didn't have like a surprise. Well, okay, give me
I
extension
played
again.
Frank Sinatra My Way.
Oh, is that after today?
Yeah, he may come in every once in a while if he's not driving. He wants to drive.
That'd be an icon.
You would. That sounds awesome. They get all the restaurants, I'm sure. And
Well, they don't get paid for that.
Oh, they don't?
They gotta drive like so many hours before they.
Oh, they
can
do.
eat, yes, so we make fun of that. We make fun of just about everything.
So it's not like back in the day when you were coaching or going to clinics or
Oh,
something, where
yeah.
you would plan your food first and then your activity around it.
That's right. I figured that's what they did. But...
Nate, what you looking at there?
It's Excel diagnostics. So here's.
Heart? Yes. We think my brother's gonna drop rock. But I need to visit with him on see if I think we can.
They won't do their.
22 hours of study time.
I guess
Oh,
they
they
could
have a
do their test.
test.
They could do their test. I could do that. It's just 7th graders. Yeah, it's not a great time.
Diagnostics.
We'll see. There's like no one there for Dr. or anything too, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I just worry about it. She told us last time that her heart's stopping.
Now they're going to the summer, aren't they?
She goes, yeah, she's almost stopped 7 times.
Showcase.
Seconds in a row. And I was like, well, it's a good thing it started. And she said, you know, if it doesn't start, I'm okay.
So is she in the hospital?
No, she's in Florida. Got a loop for her. They implanted it and stuff. Just keep seeing that more and more. I'm fine. Not sad.
Just for you, Coach.
I had to turn mine on in 7th hour because the smell was making my head hurt, so. And Thursdays.
Volleyball goes on all year
I
round.
don't know which one of the boys needs to avoid.
It's nice and cool in here.
Did y'all not get the emails?
What?
We're not meeting.
Oh.
I sent y'all what I needed. I just need those things I sent out.
Oh.
Hurry.
That's
We change
fine.
his mind.
Okay.
Well,
You
so
sent
want
another
me.
one?
We can pray and
You
do.
sent another one since the PLC agenda?
That's what that is now. It just doesn't say we're actually meeting.
Oh, it doesn't say
Do
we
these
are or aren't.
things. Just do these things.
I'm glad y'all are in here though.
I just wanted to see ya.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Where's the thing to sign?
I figure since we met Friday, there's not really need to meet today, so.
Good point. And we're gonna meet next week too.
That's right. Good.
So.
Another one of these.
Oh, okay. Well, this is my first week.
Second before
This is the blue moon.
You can tell my brain's working.
Sure did.
So we had to meet, where are we going?
My son and I told
We don't
some-
like to call.
I did some ancestry stuff, showing them, connecting how long it's been to the blue moon.
Yeah?
Generations.
Oh, okay.
Not the blue moon, the lunar eclipse, this combination of
Yeah,
super
so less than
blue.
3 to 5 hours, we need
Yeah.
to recruit on base of the intern test,
After
like
I
individually,
know all that,
or as a
No,
whole.
when y'all talk.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't know if it was
We're
taking
taking
over
over.
some
That's the way to describe it though, that's hilarious. That is exactly how to describe it.
Oh, that's funny.
Pass through the Greeks and kind of hash that out.
You get beat it.
2:45.
Which one we meet on over one date?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Caliber 1 from what I. Christmas early.
Yeah, makes sense.
Come back in second.
Yeah, I think, you know, proximity of
Yeah, the third.
doing that.
Kids
I'm
on
actually,
third.
you could possibly work with.
Is that the one where we get out earlier?
Right
Service.
piece.
Third
No, a day later.
Well, to me, it's still
It
too
was
early.
more January
Yeah.
5th, which is Monday.
Me
Everybody else
teaching
voted for
writing.
one.
January
is
5th
someone
is
else.
Saturday.
So
I don't
Better
know.
get out
I teach
earlier.
them one way and they can
That's
put
why I
in
voted
learn
for
what
it.
she
You
wants
come back
in
to
her
third and
class.
fourth on Thursday,
Somehow
like we
we
did last
look at
this year.
what the framework of
It's
that
cold
rubric
outside.
is that they're
Yeah,
have school,
I'd rather
me
be
and
on
you're gonna
the
have to school on
Thursday.
and we basically, for the next 2 months, started teaching writing that way. Does that make sense?
We gotta get Dave.
Just like those half
She's-
days are pointless.
I think she's on board with me,
Christmas
aren't you?
break.
Butts and
Pete,
seats.
you're on board with me, right?
What?
The writing stuff?
Sorry, I'm talking about the calendar. What? Yes.
It boils down to just one decision,
Why
doesn't
don't
it?
we, why don't we go down to 4 days a week? It'd be 10-hour days.
Here already.
To get here, we gotta get our, guaranteed hours.
That makes scheduling easy, wouldn't
Tell you the best schedule I liked was Toulouse Midway down by Corpus Christi. They went year long still. Every 6 weeks they had about a week or two off. And it was nice.
2 weeks off. Someone.
After about 2 or 3 weeks, you're ready to. I'm bored to death, so I'm ready to wear.
I'm gonna, I think what I'm
Well, it's
gonna
kind of
do
fun.
is I'm gonna have
Have
her
Go to school January, February, March. take
teach
April
the
off.
process.
Go to school May, June, July. have all this
Basically
stuff.
look at the rubric and
September,
teach the
October,
process,
November,
maybe even
December.
someone
They said
use it a
they
couple
love it so
times
much,
with
it's
Greece.
now they could go
So
travel
maybe
Yeah.
come up with a couple
Exactly.
topics
So
on
Like
building
everybody else can
innovation.
travel for cheap.
Yeah.
They can,
We can go to
you know, she's
on
probably
early
having to do some
February or
creative writing or some
It's like Dalton,
informative writing.
Hyatt's cousin came from California one time. Around
They was looking
Thanksgiving.
with him too.
They were all
Across the
Thanksgiving.
curriculums.
That
We're
was their
merging.
break. So they just took that.
We're merging it.
It's worked out so that Thanksgiving, they had Thanksgiving all the way to Christmas off and came back after Christmas Day.
That would cost me an awful lot of money. Being off that long.
At Christmas time.
Yeah.
They do, they gotta be great. That's the thing, I mean, for us,
I think
don't
Wendy
feel
has the
terrible
big
unless I
one
get
for us.
pretty damn good
She's-
training on how we're supposed to.
I thought of
grade
that
it.
today. I was like, that's good. We're not meeting
I don't
when we
feel
gotta do
comfortable
it. That's what I
doing
hear.
it, because then
Come
they come
on.
like, they come in and spot check us and
Jeez.
say, oh, these guys are trying to cheat here,
Yeah,
this
read those,
sucks.
yeah, that's-
We don't know that it's.
You gotta read
Nothing
it.
else.
Read between the lines.
But then, on top of
We don't know how to do that.
I wanted to
You
go
don't have why are they
spoon
giving us
fed.
that
Haven't heard
training
that
at
one
the
in a
beginning of the
while.
year? They give us that training at the beginning of the year, and then we immediately in our classes can be doing that all the time. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I guess we could all be in Vegas right now.
That'd be sweet.
Find a counselor.
I don't have short enough shorts.
Actually, it's cold right now there.
I don't think she's worried about it.
It's not drawing any clientele.
Until they want, I'm worried about my shorts.
Arson take a day today? No, she was here earlier.
One of the girls I think got sick or something like that.
Hey Heidi,
Yes, sir.
do you know if the drummers made it into the town?
Yes, I believe so.
They were never.
Glad you brought that up.
How many are gonna be in the township?
I actually have to post that, but I need
But
to
how many
talk to
of them
Lisa
count?
first, and I forgot
So
about
I won't,
that.
I'm not gonna.
How many are in
say-
the township?
I don't know yet. That's not my baby.
There wasn't very many that tried that kind of thing. I didn't think there were either. I haven't heard either of me on the list.
Let you know February 6th.
Why is it,
That's when she gets back.
I totally forgot about it.
But
That's on me, not her. I told her I would post it, post the list.
I was gonna email her to ask her, cause
No, don't,
Brett was.
cause then it'll make me look bad.
Yeah, we don't
do it?
I'm glad I asked you. Oh, crud, Lisa.
We at home again Friday?
Yeah,
homecoming. Okay.
That's what
We
we're
thought
doing.
homecoming was tomorrow, or was yesterday.
So it'll be
Who
45
play?
minutes in between games.
Yes.
Pretty
Every
easy.
dance team and.
They've been kind of a doormat all year long.
Actually, we were blowing them out, and they caught up, and we ended up beating them out 26 or something. Boys
That's
were losing.
less than what you
Boys
needed.
were losing at the end of the
Yeah.
first.
They are.
Coffee mill.
Are they?
I don't know what the score ended up.
So they did one pretty handily.
I would think, but I don't know. I was surprised when they were losing at the end of the first. They looked like they
Hey,
had much.
now that I'm thinking about, how did you go about potty training your dog? I'm ready to kill my.
Kennel.
I'm killing.
You gotta kennel them when you're not at home.
I do. My problem is, like,
Immediately take
it's
them out.
literally,
I think it pees every 30 minutes.
I'm getting to think mine has a bladder problem.
When they're little, it's about like a baby when they're little.
What kind of dog do you have?
It's a,
You just gotta
it's a
be
boxer with quarter
super
master.
disciplined.
Rubber band.
Super disciplined.
So,
You know, early on, you may not even, like, if they're not gonna be playing with them and physically holding them, you may put them back in the kennel while you guys are there.
Our puppy's like 3 or 4 months old. The kennel when we're not there, I take it out all the time, but it'll just randomly pee or poop somewhere and I'm done with it.
You need to,
I used to take it back out.
you also
now I
need
shove
to,
the tip
you also need to get,
If you talk to the dog whisperers, you don't punish
I
them.
know, I know. Like my parent was like, "You do what?" I was like, "I
That's
do
what my
for
wife
crying."
says. Well,
you also,
try mine.
Walmart, sells that remover stuff. You probably ought to try to get that stuff, because if they can smell it, they can smell where they pee another
I mean, I
time.
have.
I think they need to go again.
They're
It's
gonna
like
go,
I
their
work
instinct
hard
is,
to
hey, this is
remove
where I
the
go.
smell.
We've broken ours at the pooping inside, but when he pees, it's a freaking river.
It just so, God, it makes me so mad. So I saw my.
Thought you wanted a big dog.
I did, a big dog with a big bladder. So someone, Google said like, so if you catch it, take it outside for a little bit, and then bring it in and put it in the kennel for a little bit.
Yeah.
With no attention.
Ours live in the kennel until.
I can't.
Well, the theory is it will not pee or poop where they sleep. My moronic dog.
Listen, I love it.
I
Morning, my dog sleep on a pile of poop.
He will actually pee out of the cage. He'll be in the cage and he's peeing out of it.
Keeping his space dry.
Pretty gifted dog there.
I'm telling you. But the cage is supposed to be small enough to where it just has enough room to lay down, and if
Yeah,
it
you
does
get-
anything in there, then
It pretty much
If it's
does.
large cage, you're just gonna,
Oh, man. It chews so much, my kids don't like him do it anymore.
the newness is worn off.
Yeah, it's
Now the
done.
parents
I'll sell it
chore.
for half price at this point. I'm done.
What did you say, a terrier?
A Boston Terrier.
Okay.
Some of those dogs run away. And if you need them to, I can help you.
If I wouldn't have paid so much for it, I'd already done with it. The only thing that keeps that dog around is I had to actually pay for it.
pay Rob to put a hit out on it.
It's coming around the corner.
22s are still
I could have
pretty
told you
cheap.
Boston Terrier's not the most intelligent dog.
Yeah.
Has it got an indention or has it got a knot on its head?
I don't know.
It's a knot, it's supposed to be intelligent.
It's an indention.
No.
Without even checking.
Oh, my.
Something you had to see.
Is this your only one?
This is well, we've never had a dog because we don't want to deal with it.
Because you want to
inside.
crap.
Finally, the kids
Anytime
finally
you-
sing to it. We're like, oh, they're ready.
You're still the
They
chickens?
ignore it. No, thankfully something ate them about a
Anytime
month
you
ago.
give it food and water too, you need to immediately take it out, because it usually, especially little ones, it'll activate them.
So when do you feed and water your dog? Like,
Ours,
I do it in the
ours
morning.
are broke, so.
And then I do it
Yeah,
in the evening.
Yeah.
You just keep food in it and they're good.
yeah.
My old
Well,
dog. Yeah,
Eventually,
we
once
just
you
get
get
him
him-
down all day and it eats as it wants. But the
I
new
do
one,
that, but mine
as soon as
don't.
we wake up in the
Factory,
morning
I do
and
that.
then about 5 at night, we feed
That's
ours.
about what we do now too.
And if it strays an hour one way or the other, we're screwed. I'd say him not eat at all.
I get up in the morning, first thing I do is walk that dog outside, and I'm standing out there shivering, thinking, you better not go to the
Make your
bathroom.
kids
in the
get up
house."
and do it.
Okay.
My daughter does. That's one safe race. She'll be able to take it out in the morning. Toby.
Lots of
My two little
treats
ones
when
are
it's
not
outside
scared.
peeing.
They chews on all the time.
Yeah, give them those treats to them too,
Yeah.
they do their
That's what
business
it is.
outside.
I do that. If it poops and pees, I give it a treat, but.
The thing is, when you gotta take it outside, you gotta go, oh, hold on, don't pee in the house or your treats really fast when you go outside, cause
I
you
come
gotta do
back
it
and-
immediately when they're doing it.
Alright. She's off and let her giggling begin.
Cosmo, we got to where now we can leave her most of the day inside too long. 2 or 3 hours and she's
was talking about us doing our dog back because it pees too much.
Heard you take care of it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
When was the last time you saw it?
She likes to play with it. They got that same amount of hyperactivity, so they go out and run together. She does flips and chases her hair.
And Glenn will play with it as long as it's on his lap while he's playing.
Yeah, he'll come up and visit Quinn when he has his headset on, gaming up in his room.
You're missing the meeting.
I have been arrested, so I get fingerprinted.
Uh-oh.
Make sure you send 2 checks. Don't send
Sure,
4.
done that?
We added you to
Really? Kids, that's like, oh, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, you're saying all that.
This is my recertifying year, so this is the first time I've ever been to it. I'm now on file, thankfully. What did I do back in the day? It's gonna come back and get me.
It's like,
Well, here's what's stupid. I mean, I had to do fingerprints in Texas way back when. But then I had to do it again here. I'm like, is it not?
Can you cross the end?
well, we had
State to state?
I did
State
it
to
for
state?
your record this, and then I turn around and do it for foster care. And like as soon as they get it, they put it in the system, they shred it, so they don't have that card, so you can't. They can't.
Why would it be in the system? If the system is in the system.
Each agency
You guys
wants
have
their
2
own.
cards with you? I had 2 of the same cards.
Probably assume that you're gonna screw
Yes,
up.
you screwed up one.
I've never been fingerprinted before.
I didn't
went to
till-
recertify
I
this.
just did mine last year, I never had to, I didn't have to do,
Hey Rod, we'll let you know that,
Yes.
2 months after your license expires, you can still get a check. After 2 months, though, they stop sending you a check. The school
Right.
does.
He took so long to get renewed. Blaze was coming down going, we're not gonna be able to pay you if you don't get that. So he knows for a fact you'll get paid 2 months after the
2 months
award.
after.
I'm the only income, so I really need that check.
That's good to know. Good to know.
That was 4th grade today, Clint.
It's
Oh,
kindergarten!
sorry.
Got you some new wheels out there.
Just give me a truck.
Used new, yeah.
I kinda like it.
I like the last truck.
Now,
Slick.
There's a lease though.
is this one not as big as your other? It looks a little,
The back end's not as big.
looks shorter or something.
Those Nissans are nice.
You like it so far?
I do, I like it.
Someone said it was
Kinda
nice.
looks
Nissan
like
parked out front. I didn't know it was.
Kind of look like the Nissans and Toyotas a little bit. I like it.
My mom's.
Now, the new body style, I've never seen the new body style, that's still the old body style.
Yeah, shit, they did. Run over 4 times and get it.
14, but only had
Everything's run over.
36,000 miles.
Driving by, see my car's in the shop.
Where'd you go
Back to
through?
the car,
Mansfield.
just getting in and out of it.
Bandstand.
Low. I hate
Yeah,
being so
I've
low.
seen the commercial. I know
Once
what
you've
it
been
is.
high.
They do a
Not
good
right,
job.
I should.
Then when you, every time you buy it, then they'll turn around and give you a dummy buy sheet, so your taxes aren't high on it.
Really?
They save you about $5,000 off of that.
Okay.
Where's it at, Fletcher?
Miami, Mansford. This truck was actually Guthrie Mansford, but they brought it over. And we bought my wife an Explorer from them.
Put somebody up in jail.
Burke's took me out there one
Did,
day, showed me around.
the
Showed
Bible
me
kid
in
come
a
out there
video
for you?
room, they could watch all the rooms.
No, it was Deals.
Yeah, okay.
Deals, man.
You did one of ours.
Well, did I tell you he's a monster? I was telling someone.
Man, he's
Evan
thick.
Gill's dad? Listen, when he
I
was
would've
in
never
college, he
guessed.
didn't look anything like that.
Well,
There's gotta be steroids in his system. I mean, even his head's bigger than it used to be. I mean, he is.
he put together.
His arms are that big.
And he's not a big guy.
Well, steroids usually shrinks a head.
Well, the one that counts, the one on his shoulders got bigger. He has a friend that's an Oak Creek dealer. He can get about any Oak Creek sunglasses you want. I think it's like 55% off.
See, my college roommate, his mom worked for Oakley.
Nice.
Yeah, it's about half off.
I was so mad when we went to Mexico last year.
I know, you should probably.
Were they legit?
$15 and they look just like the real
sent it.
Will you announce that they will be posted in the morning? I'm gonna actually go post them now. The performer list that I should have had posted today.
Just say what they're doing.
You just told me you didn't know who was in it. Man.
Look at that. Caitlin Kelsey made it.
I'm sure it's really good. Because.
So what are some of
Guess
these
you'll
acts?
have
Do
to
you know?
wait and find out.
Grace Arneson is singing. Zoe's probably playing her instrument there.
I think it's poetry reading.
Kelly Gowing's reading.
Mhm.
Brett's drums. And what does Cordell do?
It's like, is it beatboxing? I don't even know
Oh,
what
he's
it's
good.
called.
Oh my lord.
It's actually cool.
Tyler Slade and
Pretty
John Gilmore are doing the toast song,
Mhm.
the toaster and forks.
Mhm.
Caroline will sing with her ukulele. Claire will
That's
dance.
good.
So how many tried it out?
It's awkward.
I
just to
somehow,
watch.
I missed last year.
I agree. We had
Yeah,
one.
but it's cringy, dude.
Oh, you're in for a treat, BJ.
Hey,
I've
Caroline,
seen it.
Caroline's talented.
5 years ago.
Caroline's good. I
She
tried to
sounds
get her
really
to do a
good.
ukulele, but also
Just
do
make
something
singing
else.
audition.
She's got a lot of, she has several instruments.
Yeah,
We're having
yeah, she
another
goes out on
Their
YouTube
Seth
and just
was gonna
looks at it,
do it with two other
somebody
people
plays it
and
on
they backed
YouTube,
out
and
and he didn't
she's-
have.
He's just good plays
Real
it.
deal.
I told him just play it at home and bring her the video.
Yeah,
Real
I think
deal.
he's gonna do something like that.
She was trying to talk Anthony Pike into bringing a rodeo video in bull riding or steer riding,
What's
sheep riding, whatever. you
what's
call it.
Travis Tritt saying? Huh? What you got?
Trying to, whiskey ain't working anymore. Trying to find something that's appropriate.
Trying to find something
Are you
that's
gonna do
still-
something?
I guess.
That's awesome.
They asked
Okay.
me to try to do something, so
I hear it.
Bring the whole
Play
band.
the guitar.
No.
Nice.
I'll wing
Big
it
tent.
that day,
What?
whatever we want. How much time do you need? I can do it.
The whole time.
Well, how about we get rid of several of these and then you can have about a 30-minute slot?
So what's the big bird doing?
Drinks around the house,
Hey.
is that usually what it is?
Roll them up.
The Minions? They're singing, right? Like I saw them with bongos and someone had a kazoo.
Yeah. Kazoo.
Whatever it is. Is it gonna be fun though? It takes some.
I mean, I'm not gonna say anything
Alright.
positive or
It's
negative
not fun.
about any of these.
It's just unlike you, just talk about it.
I know.
They've been practicing that
Well,
third
no, well, I'll
hour.
probably tell you
We
that.
come back up from the weight room the other day and I thought, what is that racket? And they were in gym practicing. I thought, oh my lord. I hope they need some practice. I think that was a big group. Yeah.
We didn't have a whole lot to choose from, I will say that. Like,
What about that girl that rapped last year? She's not on there.
I don't remember that. I don't think it was here then.
Someone right.
A little white girl, sixth grader, short dark hair, rapper. Remember she just stood there and rapped? She didn't move or anything. No one remembers. Must have had an impact on her.
I'm not coming up with it, I can't.
I ask her all the time if she's gonna rap again. She told me she was gonna do something else this year.
What's her name?
I don't
We
know.
don't know her name.
We just wrap some gifts this thing.
Do the cup stacking before we do the
Kuchek. Caroline Kuchek. What's she doing?
She's stout. She actually does have talent.
That's right. I saw
She
her on
actually
there the
does
other day
have
with
talent.
that, yeah.
She's,
Well, that one, America's Got Talent, playing the ukulele and couldn't sing to save her life, and dead near she won that damn thing.
It was funny, last year, Kylie was busting it down here from Kansas City to watch her play. And she went first, and Kylie was about 5 or 6 minutes late and missed it. And so they tried to talk her into going again, and she refused to play again.
Really?
She wouldn't play like in a classroom for nothing.
Wow.
So she drove all the way here to watch everyone else.
Was she mad that she wasn't here on time?
Well,
Or
it
was
was supposed to
she-
start at like 2 o'clock and it started at 1:55. And so she got here like at 2:02 and she
Should have
missed
required
it.
me to get two. Started at 2.
She was texting me the whole time saying, almost there. I'm like,
Days that way, looking for JV game.
FaceTime me.
I'll come out and shower and come out there and they will have 10 minutes on the clock and we're supposed to play at 4:30. we're starting at 4:10, you know, like, hey, we cannot start that much earlier. Parents aren't here, they're gonna be mad. We're all here, we're ready to go. Parents are not gonna be happy.
Pittsburgh game, had about 8 dance squads that had to go, even though we started an hour late.
That's what I had, Coffeeville was on lockdown, all sorts of YMCA, O'Connor, all sorts of groups. And I don't know if it was a threat or what it was, they were on lockdown, and they wouldn't let them out of class or something, Coffeeville.
Yeah, it's just the varsities though. The JVs and freshmen got out, there was a shooting right across the street.
So that what it was. Are you one of the basketball guys involved in the tournament? I probably
We've had to fill in some workers.
Oh, like your players, like.
Yeah,
Players.
players.
Does that have anything to do with you? You just do it. You just go or something?
Booster Club, that's our main fundraiser.
Is it here or is it over there?
It'll be everywhere. Like my girls are gonna be charged at the middle school gym.
What do they use
I think the boys at high school gym.
My wife said they tear that bathroom up on weekends over there. It's just destroyed.
At the activity center? Baseball team, you have the activity center.
Now, see, I thought that center was supposed to be closed down during the school hours. To the
Well,
public.
but TLC is
Well, I know they do, but my wife, she works over there, she said they'll go in there for the PE, which I said, I wouldn't let y'all go, but anyways. She said there's people in there walking
Well,
around.
people
all
walking,
the time.
yeah. I think since they started selling those cards, it's just open all the time.
Well, so they get cards to get in?
You can, like $5 or $10, you can buy a card, so.
There's a kid that goes to Colgan, but his family lives west of town, they're farmers. And I went out there with Quicker Day, and that family was in there. It seemed like you should have some affiliation with the school. Yes. They were in there the whole time, shooting,
When you guys practice, is there anybody in there?
Not on, what do you mean?
Like when you're practicing, is there?
Jackie and Joy Towns will go
I
out and
mean,
walk
yeah,
around
not
there
really,
sometimes.
not just random strangers.
that's
We don't let, we'd make them run them out.
Yeah.
She said it was 2 older ladies that was usually there.
Her and Joy would go out and walk after school.
Anyways, it was their PE time and they're throwing balls around and they kept slowly trying to get closer to the women throwing balls at them and stuff.
Hit bag.
They get a big firework back at them.
I wouldn't let TLC do that. Get their own facility. That's me.
It's still pretty in shape. I've been out there 6 months probably.
It's not bad.
Nothing's tore up, is it? Floor's holding up pretty good. That's the good like.
It's just rubber over concrete.
I played on a carpet basketball floor when I was in junior high. School district down there wanted it to be universal, so they put in a green carpet floor.
They have the like little 2-inch
We
stripe.
fell.
Yeah, carpet burns, the floor burns.
It makes you go gingerly after a loose ball.
I thought I had a couple, someplace we used to play was high on
Almond style.
Still is.
Yeah.
When we go there to play basketball middle school, they have the lunch tables pushed up against the wall. The little square tile, that's what we
Wasn't
play.
Columbus's old gym that way?
No, not anymore.
We used to go there.
Yes. They've got a fairly new floor.
You guys have probably seen, maybe you probably have, the square blocks that they lock in.
They did that at the Parks and Rec Center.
Well, some of
It's like a
those
plastic.
East Texas.
It's kind of like was at that
We saw it
Branson.
at that Branson Clinic.
You don't get a true, I don't know, it doesn't
I
sound.
didn't.
They get all those big club volleyball tournaments, they bring out you.
Well, even like,
Yeah, it's
the
good
tournament
house,
stuff
movie
was
in.
played on that stuff.
Oh, really?
Doesn't worry about bouncing, so it doesn't matter. So, the Sprint Center. Someone else has one too.
Brad, we didn't play tonight.
Stuff that looked bad last night.
Y'all should give them a day off, they need a break.
Too hard on them.
Hey, first if you have their drill, I hope they come back. As nice as it is outside, they may not show back up. They're not outside, they're playing Fortnite inside. That's girlfriend's house or whatever. I tell you what, $5 bill over here, I'd be scared to death. I would be scared to death. You're not leaving. You're gonna sit in my office until practice starts.
I don't worry about Kobe, he always goes to Yeah, I need your debit card, so I go to Opie's. He's eating all the time.
Big old kid.
Gosh dang.
Probably girl was muscles. I showed the class, it was wrestling video, they're all asking questions
Is that the
about
Web City?
how to score points. He ranks this kid's probably 30, it looks to me like he's 30 plus pounds bigger than Joe. Joe picked him up and slammed him 3 different times.
I showed someone's classes today, and said, I appreciate you guys coming to class tonight, so we'll show you guys, because you're jumping up and down. Man, I was fired up, that was awesome. I was like, he's a guy like you a couple of years ago.
We're gonna make Joe a basketball player before it's all said and
Defend,
done.
buddy, defend and rebound, that's all you gotta do, it's not about scoring.
Just send him in there if you wanna get someone fouled out.
Gosh, Carter was that way last night.
He was
How
quick to
tall
get
are
it.
they?
Last night for a minute, I was worried about that you needed to go pick some people out of
I
the
know.
stands.
Because
Because Doherty got his 4th and Berg had his 3rd, and I'm like, there's nobody else that can guard Benjamin at the rim. Muya, I mean, but Muya's gonna foul out against that. I mean,
About that much taller than she is.
So he'll just let him go. He's not fouling out.
Nah, I
Yeah, you
can't.
didn't score, it's okay. He's
Yeah.
not gonna foul out.
But 1 year he grew 7 inches.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a little short kid, he's an 8th grader. Used to have a bird cut, real short kid.
Blyer?
I can't think of his name. Not Glosser. This was way even shorter prior, but he's grown some. Just noticed it today.
Oh, is it, Mick? Has Mick
No,
grown?
Chubby Cheeks.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Dumpy.
Probably.
He's in your first period.
Yeah. Sounds like you.
He's grown some, height wise.
He's still
Needs to.
Looks like Howdy Doody.
That's Nick.
Yeah.
That would be Nick. Ooh.
Oh shoot, I gotta go to more office. We'll go on that one day.
Tear it up. That's the perfect example of, well, the committee made the decision.
Yeah.
There was one, they get one choice. I mean,
What'd you decide?
Nothing, we're just kind of laughing at how ladies all of a sudden got wishy-washy. Once it got narrowed down to listen to you and the kid have to make a decision, he's like, yeah, I mean, in a way, don't you think at lunch table, he couldn't quite figure out what he wanted. I think he wanted to say, I'm gonna let you guys vote.
it sounded to me, I mean, every comment he made sounded like he wanted to stay the way
Well,
it
it
is.
is, that's what I thought too. But, you know, and then.
I mean, what do you think,
Everything Mr.
I wasn't there long enough with it. I mean, yeah, that's what it,
Everything
when I was
Mr.
there.
Kidd said that he has said prior to that was that he was gonna split, you know, it's.
I don't think Blaze has put too much thought into it, to be honest with you, until now.
I'm at the point now, I just want it to be over with, I don't even care what they do, just do it, and in 8 years we'll change it back.
There's just, I mean, there's just pros and cons to all of it, just.
I'd like to see it.
I was thinking we might end up getting a 6 o'clock start. I think high school guys, but Brad made a good point, the way we do that is if on the 4-game night, we do 2 and 2, but most schools don't have B teams, and so you have to
So
play
when you
3
play
in
the
one
combo
game.
team, you're gonna have to start at least at 5:30.
Now that would, if they had just one, but anymore, it seems like most schools only have.
So who would play?
So sick of that, but you just think it.
On the boys' side,
you only
most of
mess
your
up
boys'
one
teams
of
are
them.
gonna have B teams, aren't they?
Well, you'd think, but, you
No.
know, not half the time you
Columbus.
do, half the time you don't.
Columbus did.
This was one of the better years.
St.
too.
Mary's.
So I mean,
Mary's only
that'll,
had 8 teams.
I mean, it does double the times when we play a combo team, double
St.
the
Mary's
times we'll have to
didn't
get off early.
Baxter had combo, Columbus had combo.
Oh, yeah, Baxter did too.
And then late in the season, they're like, can we just play a half a game?
Columbus 8th grade boys went 0 and 12.
Columbus?
So that means Riverton and Baxter double dip on these guys.
You'd think you just get lucky
Well,
sometimes.
I mean, it's it had been like 7 to 6.
How's Columbus's 8th grade last year?
They suck.
I watched them film on the day. Oh my God, they look terrible.
They've been terrible for a while.
They have been bad for a while.
Those guys that play football and play.
They wrestle hard. Evidently.
Some skilled guys out there.
New thing. New thing.
Yeah, like those receivers, they don't play basketball.
Really?
Yeah.
That was wrong. That's what I said. I used to do. They just press us and run up and down. And they really didn't.
They weren't that outside of the beginning, like.
Did you see
Wilbur and
his
that-
jump shot though?
I know.
It's horrible. I mean, it looks like a little third grader shooting
He
basketball.
needs to just go to the hole and not shoot outside.
Yeah.
Just play defense.
Well, that's what I think at halftime they went and did that because that's what, second half, that's what he did.
That's when he's gonna play.
What do you think they'll do to me next time they play?
Triangle too.
With a big and a little, or two littles?
I can see them.
I think they'll take whoever guards Brett. They just leave Brett open.
They did that last night.
Well, they just stay in the paint.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even stay in the paint. I'd just go guard someone else.
I think they'll have a triangle too around him.
Yeah.
Make him shoot from outside and guard Shorty and golf manned up. I can't believe the way people are
shoot outside.
face guarding golf right now. He gets face guarded, and I'm like, well, that's actually a good thing.
That's the same thing. Quinn got face guard the last 2 games. Four.
That just keep him as far out as you can.
Yeah.
That opens up driving lanes for Booyah.
I mean, he
Yeah.
was so streaky.
I know.
I'm like, I keep seeing him take a chance and at least make him hit one.
And once they get that, sometimes that never ends. I mean, sometimes that once that scout gets out there, people just continue to do it.
Oh, the same scout.
They good. I'm gonna do it.
When I was getting stuff on Kane, about 5 or 6 coaches and all the Kansas guys sent me the exact same scout. So I don't know which one of them made it up, but it was the same thing from everybody. I mean, the word it's just the same thing, just copy and paste.
I get mine passed around because I'll occasionally in the league do that, and I'll ask them for a scout and
You'll get your
word
own
for,
scout.
I can pull out mine and word for word, the scout they give me is mine. Word for word. Like, you don't change anything. I mean, they change it from, the Trojan scouting report to.
So your nephew played well last night, looked like.
First half.
You had a boy and a girl, right? There's a Clevenger on both teams, right? On the news.
Did you see Friday night's news? Is that where you saw it?
Last Friday. Did he have like 20?
Yeah, 24.
The game that you went to. Oh yeah, after the Glenn game. Yeah.
Yeah, 24 and the niece hit a.
She is senior this year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, 16 last
If
night.
he does ask,
Didn't have
just
a
say,
good second half. I
we both
didn't have a
decided,
great first half and then
we had a
tore it
meeting,
up.
Right.
I thought the
we
big
decided
second.
that
Then
we're
last
gonna
night
do
had
that
some
right,
good
six
highlights
things
of
we
us
have
last
to
night.
do, that we're gonna
They
I
showed
didn't
it.
know.
try to
I didn't
teach the writing.
We had 16 and a half last
format
night. Face
for
guard
the,
and ended up with 19
English
for the
teacher.
night.
Who they
Makes
play?
it sound
Cherryville.
special. It's a pretty good time.
They beat Cherryville.
No, Cherryville beat him.
We'll do what?
Cherryville, he went to Thayer, so like
It'll be
4 or 5 of the kids in Cherryville's
end of
team
March, start of
was his
April.
classmate, because he went to Thayer through 8th grade, and they won the league title in like 7th and 8th grade. And so he gets to play those guys. And that's the first time they've beaten him.
That Raider kid, he's a third kid, I think, Raider.
Yep. And the Robertson kid.
251. Oh, you lucky dog, you.
I hope she's getting strong and fast on
I
this.
hate gymnastics. My daughter didn't even like it either. She didn't like it. She's like, Mom's making me go. Sneak out of here.
I'd like him to go do the gymnastics, but then like perform anywhere.
Well, and that's not even so bad. What sucks is, one, it takes all the time, so it's hard to practice other sports. And two, like Carson, if they like it, I mean, you're screwed for, like, I have a hard time getting her to go do volleyball, basketball. She always wants to flip, because it's kind of fun. If she put the same amount of time in basketball that she does gymnastics, I think she could be real good.
Some of those gymnastics girls, they're not gonna make it be gymnastic players.
None of them.
But they'll make it cheerleading.
Yeah,
God, they give scholarships for those cheerleaders, and I'm like, man, maybe I should have kept my kid in cheerleading. She always cusses cheerleading. I'm like, cheerleading, that's stupid. Like, well,
Well, Carson gets
Some money for
standing
school.
back from it now.
Really?
Yeah.
Ken didn't know which one's offense or defense, or, but she's a cheerleader, in all sports she's really cheering for.
First little boy last night. So, his foundation. And he came in on, he's like, good luck, Westcott, you're gonna need it. This is first little boy. Slapped him on the hat and said, that's the only damn good thing you got on tonight. Well, Ginnivan's dad was sitting right beside him. He doesn't know that I know Jake, you know. He'd kind of give him a nod. Mr. Ginnivan, it's okay. We know each other. It's like, well, I kind of figured. Yeah, he was kind of looking like,
I don't
this
use
guy's
his
calling,
trash little
this
kids.
guy's calling Westcott out. Westcott slapping him on the head.
Hey, your buddy Murph's the front net guy?
Did you see what he said to me last night after the game?
No, I just heard you go, look around, go, I gotta make sure I open this in private.
You never know what he's gonna say. He sent me this after the game last night. Pretty good. I was gonna text him back.
Is this what you had me read earlier today?
I don't know.
I think,
Latin,
yeah.
You wanted verse and a bunch of.
You said it was a front net guy, you didn't tell me.
It was Murph.
That was quick.
Yeah. Don't have exactly.
Get out to, I don't know, 24th? So May.
The
That's
exact
where we
same,
brought that
just
guy.
pretty much every year.
Really?
I didn't text him
Thursday,
back, 'cause I didn't
20th,
record anything I said. I called him.
It's a Thursday.
I had to go get goals now, you know. Got goals now.
Yeah, thanks. I miss anything good?
Sure, yeah, no.
So we get out on a Thursday or Friday?
Well, it's a Thursday. At Christmas time, it's a Thursday, half day. And then we gotta go Friday, the 24th, I think, in May.
That's a long old break then. Wait, I'm looking at January. So we go on a half day on Monday?
Is it, no?
You said Thursday. 20th? Go half day on Thursday, the 20th?
Yes.
I was looking at January. So that gives me almost 0 days to do anything before Christmas, because the weekend failed over here.
Well, the other proposal was to go on Good Friday. So you could get.
I like my Christmas time. I would almost, I'd come back second if I could have more time.
Well-
On a personal, enjoy Christmas thing for me.
I'd like to be able to watch the bowl games on New Year's and not have to go to bed early.
Now, I do
I'm
understand
thinking,
that,
you know, I gotta
yes.
get back here.
I don't want, not going on the second is not bad.
I kind of enjoy that.
Yeah. That is true. Ever since we started doing that, I've been,
Yeah, bringing the kids back on a Friday for one day.
yeah, I can take a day off if I need to. If we wanna make plans,
Well, I suppose for basketball, that Friday, have kids in school that Friday, would be good.
is there a game? Probably, I bet so.
Possibly.
I bet so. Yeah, good point. Very good point. Oh, well, thanks for your service, sir.
Oh, I, so the, split season thing, yeah, basketball.
We've been talking it all day. I can see them turning around and going. I can see us voting to say not split season, knowing that the split season will go. So
Just so we
parents
can
is
say
right,
we-
they can say, hey, we voted to keep it the way it is, but the league chose to do this. I could see that kind
All
of.
about what it is today.
I can see that type of thing happening. But there's, the more that Jerry and Brad hash it out, the more stuff they're going to need. Maybe not split
Let's go back to the short season, just both of us play before Christmas and be done. Christmas break. All November, all December, be done with it.
But it'd be hard and fast. Be honest.
did you start when you were, did you start the same time when it was split season?
No, we started
You
about
started
20th or something.
in October. So volleyball was getting done soon. I told him this point selfishly, either way, I can go with, because if it stayed the way, I like that thought of having February before, all of February before tri-season. I'm ready to roll then.
Yeah.
But on the same side, if I didn't have to do anything from November to December, that's not all terrible either, because that'll slow that season of life and time down to enjoy that a little more. As far as looking at as a boy coach, which may be new, I'm assuming I'll still be able to have extra numbers and stuff. But after that,
I just don't have any questions. Just assume you're doing
that's
it.
what I was. Don't change anything.
Just show up and.
For sure.
Because you won't know numbers until you'll be getting that check all the way through the year, so.
Then after that, I don't know.
Once Brett's gone.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens after that. Although I really liked it. I really like being the grunt guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Cause I was, but, I mean, and if he's playing school ball, if you have to leave early for a game, it's not.
Right, it's
in
not
the
like
world
I'm the
because
guy that's in charge of
it's
the
still.
Yeah.
Well, we'll pack up.
Give myself a haircut here in an hour.
Yeah. That on Friday, this time. Do you give yourself a haircut?
Nope. I go to Regis, let the girls do it.
You go to where, Jagged Edge?
Yeah.
I don't really care, but that's where all the kids go, so.
What are they gonna charge you?
Kids, I think are $10 a piece, and I'm 12 or 15, I don't know.
That's not bad.
I really have no idea.
Like 15 at Regis, that's just rising.
It was Carol Mason, Isaiah, and me got a haircut for $46, so I don't know. $44, 40. And she may have. Last time I put a case I used haircut, I put a 20% tip on there, which is $2. So it was $10. So this time they didn't ask for a tip, so I may have just remembered my last one and put 20% on. So I really don't know. Maybe $40 with a $6 tip.
I don't need a tip most of the time. That's for Regis, it's not an individual, that's the corporate.
Right. So I got it from it. She's got to pay rent on her booth, and
Yeah, that kind of
she
stuff.
works with us and gets the same money too.
The other day, or two Fridays ago, Brett was scheduled for a haircut, and I forgot. We were leaving the school at the time.
Fart.
There,
Is it fart?
25 minutes away from her. So, the other day we get on the girl, she said, come on. So I ended up,
Is that yours?
I ended up giving her $15
Daddy,
plus $10 more as a tip
Just
for
because.
keeping us
Let me see
there.
how this works.
No, that's somebody else's. That's not for you guys.
Yeah.
Did you take it away from him?
I took it just so he wouldn't. He didn't do anything with it. I just took it so he wouldn't.
So it
Prevent
went
it.
like
Drake.
Right.
All right.
Hey, I have a question. Calf injuries, strain. What best thing to do with that? Rest? When I stretch it, not. I was running the other day with Jaden, just doing sprints out the activity center, and he just went, ah. And like I pulled something, so all of Saturday and Sunday, it was pretty just hurt. I wrapped it up with a.
I don't know that you want to stretch it. If it's a pull, you don't want to stretch it because you'll just keep.
Cause then, so I didn't do anything at all Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Then Tuesday, I was like, I'll get on the treadmill and walk. So I walked a couple miles, it felt fine. Then this morning, I was like, it felt good yesterday. So then I ran this morning and It's been hurting all day.
If I just keep it easy as it on, ice it.
I'll go for a week.
I let you have my
Alright, yeah, somebody said calf and hamstrings take a while to heal and.
I was surprised James Harden came back as soon as he did. If he had a hamstring. I thought,
So I started reading and it's like there was no pop or anything, so it was just a grade 1. So, I mean, but it was definitely just not just sore from running. It was
an actual strain.
while I was running, it was like it really hurts. So, all right.
Yeah,
I shouldn't run for a while.
Ice it though too.
Ice and heat or just ice?
I'm Al Orlani. Did you do Al Orlani?
Yeah.
Ice.
Going on for a
Unless
while.
you're getting ready to go do something, there's no reason for heat.
Just ice. All right. Thank you.
See ya.
Daddy,
Yeah. Okay.
Dr. Pepper.
Let me get ready to leave, and then we will get you stuff.
Dr. Pepper.
I heard you, and if you say it one more time, then you're not getting it.
Dad, see that little baby with that tongue?
Colin! What's up?
Cousin!
Can I practice track whenever I do go?
Yeah, your mom was asking about that. I think so. I don't know why you couldn't. I would guess you could. I
Golf
can't.
has no relation to do with
Yeah,
track.
I can't see why not. The only negative is there isn't a meet for high school kids to even compete at until mid-May anyway. But you can then kind of take it. You're going to have golf meets on some of those nights, and so you don't have to be as like intense about being there early on. But yeah, I think I don't even know who to ask. I'll probably ask Mr. Curran.
Okay.
But I can't imagine that'd be a problem.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. 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 I feel like I'm forgetting.
Your kid. Me. They said they make her fix some. Testing. Hello? Hello, Quinn. Quinn, stop, Quinn. Quinn, stop. I will tell on you.